to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and always a delight when we have time to sit down with our good friend, James Hirsen. He's a New York Times bestselling author. He's a media analyst. He works in and around Hollywood. He's a law professor. He jumps tall buildings, outruns locomotives, and plays the harmonica. Brother Jim, good to see you, buddy. How are you?
Thank you. How are you, Perry?
Good. Good, man. Good to see you. You got a lot going on. Hey, your state is kind of interesting these days. What's going on with this California redistricting plan?
Well, it's fascinating because it's lawless. And actually, a big part of the motivation to have this redistricting is the presidential ambitions of our governor, the very strange, ever-changing Gavin Newsom. Because he wants attention. He's given up governing. You know, he started a podcast. It's like he's on the road promoting something. He's going on various podcasts. He's imitating President Trump. And he's part of this very shrill, cringy group of people who are trying to get attention. So in this goal of getting attention, he's decided to join the battle that was started by those legislators in Texas, the Democrats, who left the state, absconded, and hid to stop the map being drawn. Now, Texas redrew a map in big part because their population grew, and their population grew in big part from people fleeing Gavin Newsom's California. So, you know, and Texas has long been associated with traditional values. They had every imperative to do redistricting, unlike California, which has a set of laws based on this complex amendment to the Constitution procedure where the public votes. But in two elections, California voters voted to set up a independent redistricting commission.
Right.
And that they amended the Constitution, the state constitution, to do that. And Gavin Newsom says, well, you know, I'm just going to get around it. And so he's essentially seeking to amend the Constitution again. And the way he's doing it in California, and I think Oregon may have this, there's a period of time required for public input on legislation. In California, it's 30 days. So Gavin, because he wanted to get on the ballot, he basically found what he thought was a loophole in the law. He took a piece of legislation that had public input for 30 days and erased it and substituted in new legislation, which is blatantly illegal. So this thing is illegal on so many grounds. There's already been lawsuits filed. The poll numbers look bad for Newsom. He doesn't care. He's getting attention. Yeah. And that's what this is all about.
All right. So this Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, so he's trying to thwart that. But at the end of the day, he has to get people's approval to do that, right?
Yeah, that's right. He has to have an election that's going to take place November 4th. But what's different this time is there's a lot of people that like this idea of an independent redistricting commission. And one of them is our former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's got a group. He's well-funded. Common Cause, a left-wing group. The League of Women Voters, a liberal group. There's a big coalition, well-funded. They've already started campaigning. So Gavin Newsom has a tough headwind. And I think this thing has a good chance of losing. And if it doesn't lose at the ballot box, it has another good chance of losing in the courts. So it's just really a futile effort, but it does get Governor Newsom attention, just like his imitation of Trump, which is pathetic. He even tries to post tweets like Trump, ending with the same language, using, you know, he's going to be. He said, the thing that's funny about this, a lot of Democrats are doing this. You know, Trump was always a showman. He's been a showman for decades. The public knows this about him, and they elected him twice knowing that. And he's authentic. And Governor Newsom is anything but authentic. And most of these Democrats who are, engaging in cussing and singing and various types of stunts have a real problem with being inauthentic, and it's kind of backfiring on them. So
So
it's going to be interesting
in
to
the
watch.
meantime, James, California is falling apart. You're losing citizens like crazy. Businesses are leaving, and the cost of living is just absolutely atrocious. Is the citizenry aware of his sidelining of the commission, and are they opposed to it?
I think enough of them are aware and opposed to it so that he's going to have great difficulty winning this election. And it's very clear that California businesses and California citizens are voting with their feet and they're leaving. California is the second biggest loser per capita in the country. You may say, well, you mean somebody's beating California? Yeah, another blue state, Illinois, my home state, is beating California. So, yes, people are aware. And the other thing, it's starting, we do have some local reporters, a few here and there, who actually report the news. And they're saying, well, where did the money go to help the people who got burned out in this fire, this terrible fire that took place in Los Angeles? And also, weren't they supposed to have some fast track to rebuilding? And instead, we're hearing about money being set aside for low income housing in the Pacific Palisades, which is kind of like Beverly Hills of the coast. And so we have a bullet train with tens of billions of dollars where nothing happened. And reporters are saying, hey, where'd the money go? And all of this happened on Gavin Newsom's watch, in addition to, of course, the worst education record, the worst crime record, the worst homelessness record. And it just goes on and on. His record is absolutely abysmal. So what he has to do and what his advisors are telling him, distract, distract. And this is the way to distract. Join the redistricting battle, which, by the way, Perry, that battle, some Democrats are saying, hey, Gavin, knock it off.
Yeah.
Because the Democrats are going to lose in the end. If there's a redistricting war, states like Indiana, Missouri, Ohio will join in. And those states haven't been contorted like Illinois and California. I mean, we have these districts that are shaped like lollipops with a long stem with one street on it.
Right.
And a big, like, lollipop. Another word for lollipop is sucker, I think. So it's kind of, redistricting is a long-standing craft that Democrats have mastered.
Okay, but how do you redistrict a blue state?
Exactly. That's the problem. I guess they have to create, instead of lollipops, islands. They're going to contort these shapes. And look, what Gavin is proposing and what other blue states are talking about is going to end up being challenged in court. And redistricting is illegal. And that's one of the things Democrats are screaming about in Texas. If it's discriminatory, well, the kind of redistricting that the Democrats are talking about is blatantly discriminatory, and I think they'll be challenged. So I don't think in the end it's a good battle for Gavin Newsom. It's like he's arm wrestling with a professional wrestler. It's not smart.
Can he afford this loss?
Oh, and that's another. Oh, the loss. If he loses it, he just. I don't know. He has a strange attitude towards. He changes position every other week. Flip flops don't seem to bother him. His record doesn't seem to bother him. I don't think anything's going to stop him, except for very vicious Democrat opponents. If we look at history, Democrat primaries are the most vicious. The infamous Willie Horton ad came from the Al Gore campaign when he was running against Michael Dukakis. One of these wannabe presidents like Pritzker, Gretchen Whitmer, whoever runs against him, they are going to have ads filled with his record and probably take him out.
So in the meantime, you're up for a governor's election. What's the feel?
Yeah, right now, it seems like the citizens of California right now have this choice of a guy who jumped in early, former Fox host and former UK cabinet member,
Right.
Steve Hilton. And Steve Hilton has some name recognition. He's very glib. He has the right things to say on the issues, but he has a big, huge problem because he's not a Democrat. And in California, we haven't had Democrats win statewide for a long time. But, we see glimmers of hope in the last election because, in fact, the citizens of California passed a proposition, a tough on crime proposition that was opposed by the Democrat Party. And they also, in LA County, elected a real prosecutor. Actually, it was funny because he's a prosecutor that he ran as an independent, but he's a lifelong Republican, and he's prosecuting like a Republican and helping clean up a bit of this massive crime that's in LA. But it's going to be a very interesting. I mean, there's talk about all kinds of big names getting in. Of course, Kamala Harris backed out, but she could still come back. So we don't know what the field is yet. But hopefully, the citizens of California will make this a contest.
Can I hold you over? I got a couple more questions. You got time?
Sure.
Okay, but before I take a break, let me ask you this. How come we haven't seen the follow-up to the fires? I mean, it seems to be catastrophic damage and no money going down there, and they can't rebuild. I mean, how big of a mess is the mess?
It's absolutely horrible. And I have clients and friends who lost their homes and people of means. And there are some that are saying, hey, I'll never vote for the Democratic Party in California again. These are liberals, they're woke, and they don't want to vote for Democrats because of this, because of Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, and Gavin Newsom, the governor. And I guess everyone may remember who was on social media, this fire in the Palisades when it was raging, and the fire truck shows up and they turn on the hydrant and nothing comes out. Mm-hmm. And that was because of government. That was because of an empty reservoir. It's just, and it had been empty for a very long time, for years. And it hasn't been rectified. It's just been distracted and covered up. And then after promises that they would fast track these people, there's basically nothing going on. And it appears, a lot of conspiracy theories and rumors suggest that there's another agenda afoot. And it makes you want to believe that because you hear about low-income housing, you hear about, the $100 million for the GoFundMe money that's missing. And it's just that something very evil is going on here.
All right, let me take a quick break. Thank you, James, for letting me hold you over. Go to James Hirsen, HIRSEN.com. That's his website. There's a pic. That's actually him. That's him on Saturday night. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and delighted to have back with us James Hirsen. He's a New York Times best-selling author. He's a media analyst, a law professor, and just an all-around good guy. He has a website, jameshersen.com, and there's the picture of the landing page. And James, thanks again for hanging around a little longer. Do you think there is a breaking point in California? I mean, it's really kind of, it's so bad in so many areas. Is there a tipping point here?
There is, and I think I mentioned it. The fact that California passed this tough on crime initiative and did it pretty decisively when the liberals opposed it shows a breaking point. It's just, we have a problem with election fraud in California. We have in the encouragement of people in the country illegally to vote. We have that motor voter registration, which is absurd. We have dubious elections that last forever. The early voting. I think there's some early voting that's actually going to start this month for a November election. So and then of course the late counting and all this stuff. So California, there's great challenges and difficulties, but yet we've had our share of upsets. And we have people that want to run independently. We have people that we have a place where we elected Arnold Schwarzenegger governor, and he was really promising in the beginning, and reelected him actually. So we have some talk about other celebrities running to turn this over. There are celebrities who lost their homes who are motivated to run. So we'll just have to see. But if we don't, the tipping point electorally better occur, or we're going to have a tipping point in California, where California basically turns into a third world state with all the productive people leaving. And we see that threat in literally every blue city across the country.
I understand that. There's another factor. I think it may be the silent factor that is the biggest part of the argument, and that's the cost of living there. I mean, how long can you afford to buy $7 gas?
No, that's a very good point. And similar to every blue city, but California definitely breaks the bank. We're the highest taxed population, and thanks to the non-governance of this regime, California has a terrible, huge deficit, the size of many European countries, and it's quite a shame, because it wasn't called the Golden State for nothing. California is a place where people wanted to go for their hopes and dreams. It's blessed with amazing natural beauty, blessed with just beautiful weather, and yet people who basically have no concern for the population, but only concern with amassing power, which is what we see in communism. But they have communist sensibilities and are very sympathetic to communism. They have done what communism does: destroy freedom, and destroy economic prosperity.
Right. So to that point, in California, much like Oregon, super blue majority runs everything. There was a protest on the Capitol lawn a couple of days ago of families just wanting religious freedom and having control of the say-so of their children. In other words, they want final say-so over their children. They don't want the government between them and their children. How suppressive has the supermajority been on just family life and religious freedom?
Whatever they can get away with, they will. And we know that is the battle line, the Judeo-Christian values that are the fundamental bedrock of this country versus, and I have to call it what it is, it's the values of communism. It's the teachings of Marx, Lenin, and Trotsky. And there's no way for government to grow to the point where it takes over everything, kind of the way Zoran Mamdani wants to do, the mayoral candidate in New York, without taking away the obstacle of the family, of the traditional family, of the role of parents, and to control the minds of children and control the health choices of children. Look at what's happening in New Jersey. where they're effectively trying to intimidate parents from homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, homeschooling has been a threat to this indoctrination center approach. And I'm sure that New Jersey technique is going to spread. I'm surprised it hasn't already been here in California. Maybe it is in some communities. But in any case, it is that fundamental dichotomy and uh, battle of the people that want to socially engineer and some young people who have been deluded into believing this, and the people who support Christian,
Mm-hmm.
Judeo-Christian values, um, and it's really uh, people's. We really saw it manifest right after the shooting, the horrible, demonic shooting that took place in Minneapolis, a shooter breaking a stained glass window and shooting children through a stained glass window. If that's not a manifestation of spiritual evil, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
And it's the devil in action. And what do we see? A bunch of politicians attacking prayer.
Yeah.
And it just typifies. I think it comes from the attitude, it comes from the media, it comes from our institutions, but there's no question parents are forced to take this stand and to stand up, and they're doing it all over the world.
Yeah.
It's not just
Yeah.
in the state of California or Oregon; it's happening all over the world.
One other pragmatic question. Of course, I was born and raised in Sacramento, and I flew the traffic plane down there for the radio and television station for 9 years, so pretty familiar with Sacramento and the capital and the whole scene. But I'm also a farm boy, and I'm really concerned about the Central Valley farmer that is basically being squeezed out of business, and therefore the salad bowl of the world is going to dry up because of some stupid fish or something.
Oh yeah, they've been attacking our farmers. We've it's a big subject because we've had a mass slaughter of poultry. We've had all kinds of attacks, and some of which have been criminal attacks. And you're talking about the attack where they essentially dried up the water
Mm-hmm.
in this San Joaquin Valley that is so beneficial to the world. And that's another part of the tipping point of California. It's letting radical environmentalists and leftists control agricultural decisions and forestry decisions. It ends up in
Well,
catastrophe.
what about China buying farmland? When are we going to stop that?
Yeah, I mean, there are some states that have passed legislation to that end, and I believe the Trump administration is taking action on that. But our blue states, unfortunately, are not, which leads you to suspect that there may be some money flows coming to stop that. I mean, I don't know. I don't have evidence of it. But I have to say, I have to go back because I think we have to. I just can hear in my head a radio announcer saying, "We're going to Perry for the traffic up in the sky," and I just love that thought of you being up, in a plane. Of course, you kind of had to do that because the freeways have always been a problem in California, even in Sacramento.
Yeah. There's so much here, James. Is there hope? I mean, of course there's hope. I mean, we believe in God, and God is a God of hope. But what I'm trying to point at here is somewhere along the line, this state has to be redeemed. It has to be reclaimed. And you previously mentioned its beauty, its character, its atmosphere, its productivity, its capabilities. And now we're seeing that one philosophy is killing it. I'm just wondering if the state is now poised for a change.
Well, our whole country is poised for revival, and we've seen miracles. I mean, we have to realize that Trump 2.0 it's not a normal result.
Right.
And literally millions of people were on their knees praying for this country because they knew and they were right that it was right on the edge of going over the edge. And that was a miracle. I do believe that was a miracle. And I do believe that, it really is going to take a miracle for California to turn around. But when you say hope, I think there's lots of reasons to have hope. I mean, really, all these problems and all this anti-Christian sentiment, we were promised that was going to happen.
Yeah.
We were told scripturally, and actually, our Lord tells us it's part of the territory.
Yeah, I know.
So we got to occupy till he comes. And a part of that occupation is fervent prayer by righteous people, just like the book of James says, and people like you, Perry.
Yeah, and you, James. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for your time. I always value it greatly. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, go to his website, JamesHirsen, HIRSEN.com. There's a picture of the landing page, and check out all the things that he's involved in. God bless you, my friend. Stay in the fight. We need you.
You too, Perry. And I'm going to go to you for traffic.
Okay. See you later.